As you move around Washington over the last year or two to talk to people about the Middle East, you increasingly hear citations about a respected research organization, the Gulf Research Center, which is coming to have much more of a sharper profile, I think, in world capitals. We have with us the head of that organization, Abdulaziz Othman bin Sagur. Please enlighten us.
Thank you, Jim. I'd like to start by thanking the Qatar Foreign Ministry, of course, and the IFRI for organizing such a forum. I was asked to speak a little bit about the Arab Spring and why, and what lessons did we learn from that one, and so allowed me to speak in Arabic, and those whom they would like to have a translation unit, please feel free. الربيع العربي.
The Arab Spring was a populist, spontaneous movement that was not organized against existing conditions in an attempt to change the different negativities of people back then. People went to the street. And we've seen the immolation of Tariq al-Azizi from Tunisia on December 17 on 2010, which was the start of the protests. And Sidi Bouzaid, he burned himself in protest of the authorities turning down his a small carriage where he used to sell products, and this had led to the first ignition of Arab protests that moved to other countries. In 2011, on 25 January, we see people taking to the street in Cairo. The reason behind that is the obsolete authorities due to the inherited republics, the lack of development and lack of welfare, increase of inflation, the lack of or the drop in salaries, widespread unemployment, and the spread of bribes, corruption, and nepotism, the lack of fair opportunities, and the half-solution approaches to problems in those countries. Today, and 6 years later, we could say that this Arab Spring was only able to achieve little of its objectives at a time. At the same time, difficult conditions have emerged in Arab countries. They led to immense challenges that threaten Arab nations and regional security and stability, and pose a direct threat to the stability in many Arab countries and the territorial integrity and political integrity of those countries. The question is not who does what and when. Governments and orders should look into the reasons behind the Arab Spring revolutions and come up with measures in light of that. They have to look into the needs of the youth and their mentality and how they could deal with them and to influence them and benefit from them, turning them into positive powers. Governments and research centers, together with civil society organizations, should also examine the impact of the regional situation on the youth. They have to set the challenges that the Arab region faces, be it regionally internally or internationally, and the impact that they have on the stability in Arab countries. The new media and social media should also be identified in order to see its impact on the youth. Media, universities, schools, and intellectual people should try to spread the correct ideology and should draw the future for the media. They should also be
تفعيل اجتماعات وزراء الإعلام مع وضع
a pact of honor among societies. This should be done following studies and research done correctly. Arab countries should also look into the phenomenon of terrorism, how to dry up its finances. This is a phenomenon that targets all countries without any exceptions. Arab economies is also important to look at in order to generate more growth and provide job opportunities, decent ones for the university graduates and the youth. Honesty at the Arab world in order to set how to deal with Islamic movements, to identify them and to make the difference between political activism and the dawah activism of those movements. And here, the question that begs itself, how can we achieve the objectives that the Arab Spring failed to achieve? The answer does not lie in how to reap the benefits, but rather how to overcome the challenges that were caused by the Arab Spring and to maintain minimum security and stability in the Arab world. The objectives of the Arab Spring cannot be achieved in the current situation, which threatens the same existence of the Arab world. We have to deal seriously with dangerous challenges that the Arab world is living before starting with structural reforms and holding accountable all the corrupt that we know the Arab Spring tried to achieve. The Arab Spring used the religious dimension in order to achieve illegitimate objectives and use the feelings of people from different religious parties for personal interests. This also has led to an aggravation of terrorism and the spread of armed militias threatening the existence of countries and undermining increasing the role of non-state players or parties. External interference in the Arab world that violated the territorial integrity of those countries in an attempt to impose such a policy in some countries under the pretext of protecting stability or protecting minorities and other slogans that would justify aggressions against Arab countries and violating the privacy of Arab citizens. Putting the hand on wealth, in addition to stealing the archaeological and civilization legacy of Arab countries and hence violating the privacy of Arab countries. The ESCWA, for instance, mentioned that the protests during the Arab Spring has incurred losses accounting to $614 million since the beginning of the Arab Springs, and the losses in infrastructure was $461 billion, and stock exchange markets lost $35 billion. People's affiliations in the Arab world and its identity has also been manipulated, killing the citizenship and the national affiliation of citizens. We cannot also overlook the U.S. politics and its fluctuations, which is affecting our region. The Russian intervention in Syria is also affecting Arab countries at a time where the United Nations is not playing its role, and the same applies to the European Union. The current trend should focus on maintaining the existence of the Arab world and maintaining its stability before looking into development and reforms and the achievement of the Arab Spring objectives, so that these countries would not be fragmentized and fall into wars and economic and social disruption. We have to maintain the Arab nation for the sake of everyone. Thank you.
Thank you for that very broad-gauged analysis. Just to make sure that I understand 2 points.
Yes, sir.
Essentially, you see both the spread of social media in the Arab world and the Arab Spring itself as a net negative for the Arab world. Is that right?
Well, I'm seeing the social media was a tool have been used on the Arab Spring. But at the same time, I don't look at it as the Arab Spring as a total negative. I think because of the various reasons that have associated with the Arab Spring, today I'm sure people are asking what is the cost benefit of the Arab Spring. I'm not saying that Saddam was a better choice or Gaddafi was a better choice or Assad is a better choice or no. But I think the whole process of the Arab Spring today, when people weigh the profit and loss, how much it did cost us in terms of infrastructure, how much it did cost the whole region to weigh back. I think that's what I'm looking from this angle, and not only saying what I'm suggesting that, yes, today we need to have a better Arab unity. We need a better, working together. We need to address many of those issues in terms of democracy, youth, job issues. We need to look at media and the impact of that one. We need to look at the role of the external actors into the region. I talked about the U.S. Foreign policy and how bad it was for the region.
Right. Thank you.